every pattern has a charge, has a weight, a certain amount of energy that holds the pattern in place. And to transition to another pattern, we must overcome the weight of the existing pattern, or we must dissipate the weight of the existing pattern to a point where the pattern can change. So, what is the weight of a pattern? Let's just say this weight of this pattern is 1,000. Well, some of that pattern, some of that weight comes from the fear of the unknown. Anytime you change a pattern of any kind, there will be a change. And reality is complex enough that we cannot foresee all of those changes. And so change generates a certain exposure to the unknown, which is humanity's greatest fear. As a traumatized species, afraid of death, afraid of trauma, we are terrified of the unknown. The longer the pattern has stayed the same, the more comfort it provides, the more family or familiarity it provides. So if a pattern has been there for a very long time, questioning the pattern upsets the status quo. So all of a pattern's weight may come from its tradition, from its longevity, and from fear of the unknown. Another form of weight is loneliness or isolation. If we want to change something that has been around for a while and nobody else wants to change it, nobody else is making the change, then we're leaving the network, which may be millions of people. We're leaving a multi-million person network and becoming possibly a network of one. Now, networks are valuable for their possibility field. A cooperative network of millions is immensely powerful in terms of the possibility field it can generate, in terms of the probability field it can generate. The possibility field of a network of one is incredibly small. And so the fear of loneliness is one side of that, a resistance to change. The other resistance is just in diminished potency or diminished power, because we cannot achieve, we cannot realize even a small fraction of the potential that a multi-million person network has as its potential. A third variable in the weight that maintains the status quo is laziness. It takes very little energy to maintain the status quo of a pattern that everyone is doing and nobody is thinking of changing and everyone is modeling. You just fall into the groove. To change a pattern is to leave that groove and have to create a new groove, which takes 10, 100, 1,000 times more energy. So even if the pattern we're moving towards is superior, it's a better pattern, the amount of energy it takes for an individual to pioneer and bring that pattern into being is so enormous that it may be an adverse experience for that individual. You can think of generating a new USB port. USB-C, as I make this, is the highest standard today. And some group of individuals and engineers invented it. But that took an enormous amount of energy. And the benefit to save a little space, save a little natural resources, and be able to plug a charger in or multiple items into just one port is not enough to offset the cost of creating a whole new technology for just one person. Its benefit doesn't become apparent until it's leveraged amongst hundreds of millions of people, right? And so, but that means hundreds of millions of people have to adopt the new technology. And so initially there's only one, and there's a lot of resistance, and it's not clear how many people are going to join the network. And so when you're thinking of a change, you have to consider the change may be, let's say, 10 times better. But if the cost is 1,000 times higher for the first person to adopt the change, then it's actually a net negative for the very first person. It's a net negative for the second person, though much less. By the time 30% of the world's population has adopted the new protocol, it's a huge benefit. Right? But those benefits are realized with scale, and there is a tremendous amount of vision, drive, initiative, tenacity that's required to make something that's initially invisible to all but a small number of people widely understood by a majority. So that's another issue. The final thing to look at is no one person can lift a 1,000-pound weight. They can't. It requires perhaps 100 people who can each very easily lift 10 pounds, or at least 10 people who can lift 100 pounds. But getting cooperation to work in a concerted way to move a pattern, to lift up a weight and either transform it or move it somewhere else, move it to a different configuration, requires a concerted effort. And that requires a lot of skill that many people don't have, the skill to make something invisible visible to a lot of people. So this triangle may be superior in all of its metrics, but to move this 1,000-unit square into a triangle, to shift it, or to even move the square from one location to another or change its angle, requires an individual to recruit other individuals to bring about enough energy to overcome all of these resistances.